vessel, and then it's actually completely off when you begin painting. A little trick. So when you swipe, you want it to kind of seal in and close in within a few seconds and close in completely. So this tells me it needs a couple more drops of thinner. I'm gonna close the jar at this point. And, always add a few drops of thinner to the jar cap. But that was nearly thin enough. I think now we're talking. I like the consistency. I'll lay it on the sprue. I had a bit too much loaded on my brush. That seems about right. Maybe a little too thin, but you also have to consider. You also add things on in layers. It'll thicken in the next couple minutes, and I'll be ready to roll. So this is what I mean. Like you can pull off hand brushing quite well, but just takes time. Diluting for an airbrush would too, but you get more out of an airbrush. So just set this off to the side. We'll try and do a nice kind of close up with the brushing. Also add a little bit. This is like my, if I have too much on, or I just need to bring some thinner in, I have a separate tray for that. So yeah. What are people working on these days? Yeah, that's a good thinness. See how it's kind of just spreading. So, and no primer required. Let me just push this in a little more. It's a little loose, but that's okay. I am liking this. I am brushing this, but I'm not gonna. If anything, I feel it's actually not thin enough. And steel and metallic colors are tricky. You don't want to overlayer and like you have to wait like a solid. It depends. It's not Vallejo paint, so sometimes 3 minutes does it. You, just like with airbrushing, you don't want your layers in your dilution too thick. It almost kind of has to flow naturally. But it's looking good so far. I'm just Ian, I still have my Pagani on the bench collecting dust. Yeah, I still have my F18, so I'm kind of on a similar boat there. It's not bad, the coverage with this, and this is just layer one. Like I said, I do know how to pull off hand brushing, uh, but it's extra effort. One thing I learned is do not overbrush. Keep moving along. Keep it thin, work in layers. You want it to kind of flow through capillary action. And some parts, some sections might be a little thicker, but yeah, overall I'm satisfied. So that's layer one. And I'm glad I didn't prime this specifically. Um, because the way you can see, let me just bring up the map. The black comes through a little bit, and it, in this case, just as I've seen, it adds a nice effect. Yeah, I do think perhaps I'll use a slightly smaller brush for the next layer. Um, yeah, something like this. Yeah, no worries if you're quiet. Totally fine. I'm just, I get bored in between waiting for, um, coats to dry. But with thin coats, it shouldn't take so long. And the benefit of enamel is it's less sensitive. It's not like an acrylic. If you ever tried to paint with like a Tamiya acrylic hand brush, you'd be shooting yourself in the foot, but even more so with Vallejo. And you don't got to be perfect with enamels. So, I do a finger test. It doesn't have to be cured, but if it's dry to touch, and it is more or less dry, I'll give it another minute. I'll start diluting, and we good. But yeah. But this actually motivates me to clean up my airbrushes because this is cool, but it just ain't worth the process. Let's put it that way. And you end up using or preparing a lot more paint than you actually use. Or yeah, now mind you, you end up adding more thinner, so you never use too much of the original paint, but still. I mean, this, I'm easing back into kind of the flow of things on Twitch, so this might be it after I paint this last piece. I have to clean these trays, which shouldn't take long, but it's not really fun to show. Um, and I've recommended this before. Great product. It kind of finishes up, it keeps your brushes, well, it makes them last longer. And yeah, it also helps clean off those like little bits still left after you thin. That's where a lacquer thinner really comes through. So let's see. How will this look now? Yep, it's working perfectly. I am over painting though, so I have to be. I mean, if I let it dry for 10 more minutes, I'd be fine, but as long as I'm not spreading too much. But yeah, you do suffer from some areas being a bit thicker than in some areas being a bit thinner. But overall, it's looking clean. So I'm happy about that. And yeah, not priming was a good call. I will upload. I will make a forum. Like if we're still doing forum in Discord, I will actually, and I could wait till the build along too, because what I'll be doing in between is minuscule. Just kind of setting up the bench with the paint hood, maybe priming the parts that do need to be primed, and then working on the F-18. But I do want to put this in form because the project really just started. Cool. It's looking real clean. Real clean. Just do this. Let it rest. I'll do one more layer. And yep. And I'll be rocking. I'll probably, yeah, as I said, I'm gonna, after this unwind and get moving along, but I'm happy to all who joined the stream. Let me see if someone else is on in the meantime. Sassacas is on. She does like crafting. I might raid her. We'll see. Yeah, this does need a few more minutes though, for sure. There are a couple spots I missed, but that's probably it's probably not me not wasn't that I missed per se. It was that just the enamel kind of just flowed out. But thin coats, thin layers are key. Could always tidy it up with an airbrush. And I will make a schedule for myself at least the next couple weeks, and then moving forward, just something like 3 times a week. As I've mentioned before, a weekend morning and couple weeknights, and maybe I'll start incorporating gaming streams. Skill modeling is still kind of my focus, but I've thought about making a separate channel for gaming, but I don't want to. Like, I'm a multifaceted person with various passions. I'd rather just have my one single Twitch channel represent all of them. All right, let's start seeing how the dilution looks like. It's probably a little thick, but I'll just bring some thinner in here. And just one more drop. Yeah. Yeah, just it's not worth the wait in between each layer. Because I'm using my phone, I can't really text. Go on Do Not Disturb when I stream anyway, but I'll see if someone has been texting me or no. Yeah, so I guess what I'm gonna say is I like the end result, but as I kind of knew, hand brushing just ain't worth it for a lot of situations. It doesn't have to be perfectly dry, as I've mentioned, but I still see some wetness. Now, some people, they use a hair dryer and just kind of waving air to blow on it, but I don't want moisture to be put on the surface. I'm just gonna clear a little bit of clutter in the meantime. And by then, hopefully, it'll be dry enough for the final coat. Okay. And seeing as there's only a couple people left, I'm not gonna raid. I'm done. I'm gonna go for it and lay on the final layer. It can be a bit thicker, and I'll call it a night. So let's do this. It's going on just fine. Just fine. But I do see some seam line issues that got pronounced. But your first coat can always be a prime coat. The primer's nice, but for black and steel, it makes sense. There's black primer, and yeah, I did lose the numbers on the engine. That's to be expected. You kind of can't pull that off without airbrush control. Okay, and I'm done. That came out nicely. So I'm gonna wrap this up. So clean up after I end the stream. But this was really good. I'm happy to kind of done a full. It's relatively still short. Well, I was online for an hour and a half, but still like a full legit scale model stream. So it's the weekend. So I'll do a couple weeknights. And then next weekend I'll find like a weekend morning for mornings on the weekends. And I'll update my schedule on Twitch. But this was fun. Thanks for joining everyone. I'm not gonna do a raid. So till next time. Have a good rest of your day or night.